Vice President has said we must win the AI race. In addition to that, do not be afraid. Let not your heart be troubled, as we are reminded that once a day, 365 times in the Bible, and this AI product committed to protecting you on your phone, whether it's phone calls, text messages, also email, especially Venice.ai/RSBN. Doing that there in the App Store and Google Play. 20% off now with code RSBN. Also, thank you to the miracle that is angelpaste.com, the vitamin B infused, non-GMO, no chemicals in the facial cream that I use every day. Actually, a cream that's good for all
ladies and gentlemen.
An orange option, great this time of year as well. Vitamin C infused,
we are live
as well to boost that collagen. There's also a facial spray that I'm quite fond of. For guys,
of course, we got the RSBN on.
Valentine's Day around the corner, a great gift for your significant other. Experience the miracle of angelpaste.com. Christian-owned, they hire veterans, and they're based in Spring, Texas, right off that Gulf of America. It is a fantastic group. Go check out their products today, angelpaste.com. We know that China is now eating Canada alive because of Prime Minister Mark Carney revealing that at the World
Favorite strikes? Okay, look, I don't have much pre-market, and you should not copy anything I have right now. But I will walk through some things I'm thinking about this speech.
Mr. Producer, we have that situation. President Trump talking about China is successfully and completely taking over the once great country of Canada. So sad to see it happen.
Let me turn this down. All right, the main thing I'm kind of thinking that's maybe a little bit of a look. I'm gonna look like a clown, but all right. Everyone knows Levitt always mentions Biden, right? I do have a little bit of a no position, surprisingly, on Biden here. I actually got it at a pretty poor price too. I was trying to get it at 15 cents, but I picked some up at 18 cents, probably pretty close to where fair value is. If you look at Trump's Truth Social post this morning, where he talks about talking to Governor Walz and, the whole state of Minnesota, where he's sending in Tom Homan, it was very mellow. He kind of talked about partnering with Walz, who, if you're not familiar, is a Democrat. So it feels like to me somewhat that Republicans realize that they kind of dropped the ball with what's going on in Minnesota, and there's like not much of a way for them to spin it. So because of that, this is purely, again, a vibes play. If you're looking at the data, like Biden, yes, is like obviously a lock. She hits it in almost 95% of speeches. And I'm definitely overpaying, taking some no shares, which maybe I'll sell out mid-speech if she like doesn't hit in the open. I just think we could see like a change in messaging from Levitt and Republicans in general to where they're less kind of attacking on Democrats. Like, I feel like the messaging Caroline's going to come out, because I think this will center around significantly about ICE. I think it's going to be a focus on kind of changing the narrative to be like, we want to work together with the Democrats, with Walz, but we just want to attack or, deport the criminals, the violent people, right? And they're going to say they're working together on that. So, yeah, my only reason for, like, potentially getting some no Biden is that I think we could see basically softer messaging, and that would play into the whole idea of not saying, Biden's this, Biden that. It's also like this press briefing is not a generalized press briefing. This is very obviously probably going to center around Minnesota, especially with the additional shooting that happened. I think it was yesterday. So that's kind of my gut feeling. And then like illegal alien, I don't have a large position, but I got some at 86. That's like, I'll take it. Kind of view these as extremely high probability. I don't really know. I think she'll just say illegal alien right out the open. The only other one I've considered no's on is also fraud. But I think they'll probably talk about it, but I think maybe there's a world that fraud, yes, is overvalued if they kind of downplay the whole thing. But then again, yeah. I don't think I'll play with fraud. No. Homan, yes. I mean, you got to view this as a bond. Same with kind of Tim. The only thing with Tim Walz is like, is there a world she could just say Minnesota governor? Probably not. What do you think about the tweet from 19 hours ago that Caro retweeted on crooked Joe Biden? Let's see.
Canada needs and the world needs is to have China take over our friends to the north. It's not going to happen or even come close to happening. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Biden.
Yeah, I mean, she tweeted that yesterday, but then you also see a pivot this morning. Like, I like, for clarity purposes, I think for all extensive purposes, it is highly likely, obviously, Biden's going to hit here, right? I'm just kind of thinking, I think she says illegals are criminals and weaves illegal alien. No, I think she's going to go just say illegal alien. I'd be pretty shocked if she doesn't say it here. Illegal alien is kind of trading, like if you can get it in the low to mid 80s, again, I got it at 86. That's trading right around its historical frequency, yet the narrative is completely different. So like she already hits it about mid 80s out of all her historical speeches. But then on top of that, you have that this is going to center around ICE and these whole deportations. I just would be shocked if, you know. Yeah, I'm surprised crypto Bitcoin's even a strike. I mean, 93 is definitely value. I wonder when is the actual last time. Let me see that she's actually even mentioned crypto or Bitcoin.
Superstar press secretary to touch on some very important matters at the White House and in the James S. Brady briefing room in the West Wing. In the meantime, we will take a quick commercial break for sponsors here on the right side of history. Do not change that dial. It is Monday, January 26th, and you're watching Right Side Broadcasting.
So the time she's mentioned it is when announcing David Sachs's appointment in the beginning, when announcing Alexander Vinnick, crypto criminal.
We proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else.
Brief recap of Davos. Yeah, I mean, I think she'll definitely talk about it. But I think ICE is also going to be a decent center point. China fair value.
Free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together we stand strong.
Kind of hard to say. Question read Chinese general feeding info to U.S. How big of a story was that? Yeah, I don't like. I think China's probably pretty close to fair value. Briefing's supposed to start at 1 p.m., but they're always delayed.
/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now. RSBN10. That is the code.
Kind of just
for
surprised
10%
where
off.
like
This is ivermectin,
affordability is
hydrochloroquine,
also priced.
antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits. The meds you trust delivered to your door. Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Robert McNeely at roughly 10 after the hour. A very good afternoon to all y'all on the East and Central time zones here in the United States, the ones who got hit hard with that snow and ice.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just dependent on how much you think of like that being a big topic that they're going to ask about. She can technically weave it too in answering that, whether she says Chinese or...
So much snow rapidly hitting there. Jim Nance and Tony Romo on the call there for CBS, and both of them saying we could not recall when either as players or even commentating the snow and the weather had changed so quickly in an AFC Championship game. That was exciting. 10-7 the New England Patriots led by Drake May and Sam Darnold. His team really taking it to Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua and also Devontae Adams. So amazing plays yesterday. If you have a chance Go back and scroll.
Radical
through
left agitator,
some of
yeah,
that if you have some downtime in your
kind of
show day or
fair
day off
a
from
little
the
bit,
games.
honestly. Not a
Outstanding
bad thought
games,
process.
the
I mean,
championship there in Seattle,
but like,
Washington.
let's see,
12th
radical
man, home
left.
team successful, 31 to 27, advancing
Yeah,
to
I kind of
second
don't
seed
mind
in the
radical left now
run.
because of that.
February 8th, 2026, the Sunday Super Bowl 60. We look forward to
I'll pick
that.
some up, to be honest,
As
if I
every
can.
once in a while, we turn into
Let's see.
RSBN Sports, and we're big sports fans here. But the ongoing Super Bowl and the gladiator theme of the time, it's American.
I don't know. We'll
football.
see. Like,
There's no question about that.
Biden,
And
I'll
always
probably
keep
try to sell out
with,
mid-speech, so kind of just
cut
hoping we can
number
survive the
6 and
open
or
remarks.
excuse me, cut number 7, Mr. Producer. That Comer interview, very
Canada
key to
rejecting
what's
deal
taking
with China
place
an
in
hour
the
ago.
US.
Yeah, that's a
Got
pretty
it
fair
just last week. Highly respected
thought process.
Congressman
Thoughts on
James
Greenland?
Comer
No, Greenland is so
was
hard to
briefing his
price,
interview
man.
this morning with Romo, and he said,
It's just going to be
"With all
dependent
conservative
on,
Minnesota deranged
like,
ships
do I
and
think she'll bring up
other
Greenland in
conflicts
opening
and
remarks?
interests on her
Probably not,
Sunday
with everything going
show,
on,
and
but
he is doing a fantastic job.
I mean,
President
certainly could
Trump,
get Q&A.
uh,
So I
saving
think
that
Greenland's kind of
work
just
there
like,
after
is there going to be
for
Q&A on the
Romo
topic?
Bartiromo's Sunday show, and what might have gotten mixed up in all of the news from this weekend with cut number 8. The
Yeah,
emergency
it's going to be
response
based on the
from
press.
FEMA.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Under
Minnesota is
the
going to be
oversight from
extremely
DHS
heavy
Secretary
focus.
Kristi Noem. I just approved
Um,
emergency declarations for Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina, Maryland, Arkansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Indiana, and West Virginia.
Honestly, Homan and Walls are going to be interesting. Like I think I personally view them as like,
Stay safe and stay warm.
assuming
And especially
this thing
if you are in
happens,
Minnesota,
like
thank you to mypillow.com.
how it is, it's like
And the mattress and topper sale.
95s for Homan and Walls. Homan, I don't think she could ever mention his name without saying Homan. Like, she couldn't refer to him as something else. Walls, maybe she could say governor. I just don't think so.
Someone I think we might have to have a show with President Trump when it's all said and done. Going as low as $99.99.
How much time do I research for these? It varies a lot. I mean, for Caro, honestly, it's like, I won't say that I'm like researching heavily necessarily the morning of. A lot of it is just like following with current developments. Like, you're almost researching throughout the week, just constantly sifting through like what the White House is putting out, what's happening. Davos, yes, and protest, no. Pretty fair. I am surprised Davos is as low as it is. I mean, if she doesn't hit Davos in the open, I think if you're fast enough to pick up nose, it's probably a pretty good buy.
MyPillow.com/RSBN. 2,000 plus products. The mattress and topper sale going on now for as low as $99.99. Thank you to Mike Lindell and MyPillow. Code RSBN.
43 cents. Protester, no. Though the fact that protesters included.
A lot of options out there, especially in this new media era, especially with streaming.
Yeah, I mean,
People
it's
coming to us, your go-to rally network and
protest no actually does have like a lot of value. Damn.
website broadcasting.
All right, I'm gonna pick up some protest no. I'm not gonna lie, if I can. I don't know if I'll take her it, but I don't mind that. Think she'll mention stock market? Definitely not. You got 21 cent protest no? Yeah, now it's kind of priced higher to 31. I mean, she only brought it up once in the last press briefing, so I'm curious if there's going to be a surprise guest.
Over the course of that, so we're all smiles down here in the loveliest village. But again, we'd be even happier.
Yeah, agitator is a new strike. She used it twice in her last press briefing. Yeah, surprise guests usually are announced by now, but sometimes they don't do it. Like, I think when they had JD Vance on, it wasn't like announced before. Just with everything going on, I could see something happening.
And everything happening inside and outside of the Beltway, and especially the stories that affect you in your neck of the woods. In fact, if you wish to opine, write to us.
Oh, White House is live. Let me pull up White House.
Feedback at rsbn.tv. Thank you for your support. In
Let me get a
addition to the
fast stream.
donations,
I'll get the
you can
fastest
go
stream
to
up in a sec.
rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. There you can like, share, and subscribe.
All right, let's see if we get
across all
rinsed on this one.
platforms to get the word
It's a
out
pretty
there. We've been
hard
around for about a decade
speech
now,
to
but we've evolved, and We will continue
Try to
do that
handicap.
over the course of this second term, but also with the ever-changing new media landscape. An exciting
Here we
time,
go.
to be in the business, no question about that. rsbnetwork.com/newsletter for all America First updates and exclusive offers right here on the right side of.
How delays my stream? My actual X stream, I would wager this is going to be faster than anything you'll find online.
Sadly,
Because I have it pretty sped up. I mean, obviously, some of you that know what you're doing will have a faster stream, but...
The problem is, many have those clickbait.
But my stream's delayed probably at least 5 seconds, 7 seconds. I don't know how much X does.
Woke ideology that Bill Maher talks about.
No on Canada.
This is really the delusion of the woke
I guess you're kind of just going against
of those
the
who think that they can place themselves, whether it
talks
be
of the whole trade deal,
historical
right?
time periods,
Falling through.
or even today in the present day and what happened on Saturday, and think they can do someone else's role or job better by just throwing out slogans, by just involving themselves in tribalism, and ultimately not using common sense. As I spoke at the top,
It's probably not a bad take. Honestly, I just think like some of these yeses are pretty high, you know. I mean,
and some people disagree with me. And
a
that's
legal
okay.
alien at
If you
86 is the one that just like
RSBN
to not be like totally exposed to just all knows. But
all the big
I am gonna
issues of
try
the
to
day and what
hopefully
might be controversial
be
and
able to
what might
live
be
trade this
controversial. But as I've seen it, as I've cited Supreme
as we
Court
get more
rulings,
info.
many
Like I think there's a non-zero chance of like a surprise
I don't
guest, like
see
a
this
JD Vance or
specifically
something.
as a
With what
Second
this
Amendment
is on with
issue.
Minnesota,
Of course, the individual had the right
doesn't she say China like every press conference?
But common sense would tell you not to approach.
She says it like
impede potentially
45, 46% of
law
times
enforcement
across all her press
investigation
conferences this
as they
past
are
year.
trying to uphold
So definitely not every conference.
Title 8. And Title 8, in fact, to secure those borders.
She
against
also didn't say it in the last two.
and things like Trend A arrival
Granted, one of those was like
and,
when Trump joined,
these
and she didn't really talk at
horrible
all. But
criminals that were emptied out of prisons from Central and South America that have come through our south border because of the prior administration and their lack of clarity. And I think for those who have lost minors and children's to fentanyl, the 300,000 that were trafficked that we know of, and
China at a
several
lower
thousand now being
price.
covered by the Trump
Interesting.
administration and identified, some of their lives will never be the same for the repeated rapes and the violence that they've experienced due to these evil.
How delayed is this gonna be, man? Already 18 cents.
So the outcry
Illegal
of the
alien? No.
should be
Really? Okay, here we go.
because
Starting.
Good afternoon, Jackie. Thank you for that. Thanks for coming in on a snow day for the rest of the government in the country. And as much of the country feels the impacts of that winter storm, President Trump continues to monitor the situation closely, and he has remained in constant contact with
Starting on
FEMA and
snow.
emergency responders. President Trump also quickly approved 12 federal emergency disaster declarations within 24 hours for the states of Arkansas, Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, North Carolina,
all the
South
states
Carolina,
today.
Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia, enabling these states to access critical federal resources to supplement their response efforts if needed. These declarations will help state-led efforts of turning power back on, clearing roads for emergency services, and keeping communities safe. The White House will continue to correspond directly with governors and local officials in the coming days, especially in those states that were harshly impacted by this storm. I would also like to address the chaotic scenes in Minnesota over the weekend.
Here we go. Here's Minnesota.
Nobody in the White House, including President Trump, wants to see people getting hurt or killed in
See? Change in tone.
America's streets. This includes Renee Good, Alex Preddy, the brave men and women of
Now
federal
they're
law
like-
enforcement, and the many Americans who have been victimized at the hands of illegal alien criminals.
Illegal alien right there.
Saturday's shooting
Boom.
remains under active investigation
'Kay.
by Homeland Security Investigations and the FBI. The
FBI.
Customs and Border
Man, we
Protection
should've
is
hit
also
FBI.
conducting their own internal review. As President Trump said yesterday, the administration is reviewing everything with respect to the shooting, and we will let that investigation play out.
Kind of
But
like
let's
the fact
be
they haven't
clear
said
about the
protest.
circumstances which
Oh, it might
led
come
to
right
that
here.
moment on Saturday. This tragedy occurred as a result of a deliberate and hostile resistance by Democrat leaders in Minnesota. For weeks, Governor Walz and the Mayor Jacob Fry and other elected Democrats were spreading lies
Wow.
about federal law
Never
enforcement
mind.
officers
They're kind of going hard. Change in tone.
who are risking their lives daily to
Does not
remove
make me
the
feel good
worst
about Biden, no.
criminal illegal aliens from our streets. Murderers, rapists, pedophiles, human traffickers, and gang
Jeez.
members. Governor Walz and Mayor Fry have shamefully blocked local and state police from cooperating with ICE,
Wow, after
actively inhibiting
Trump's
efforts
tone,
to
she's
arrest
going, like,
violent
hard.
criminals. They have also used their platforms to encourage left-wing agitators to stalk, record, confront, and obstruct
Agitator,
federal officers
wow.
who were just trying to
Still
lawfully
surviving on
perform their duties,
no
which has
protests.
created dangerous situations threatening both these officers and the general public and Minnesotans
Buy some
alike.
more in the 20s.
This is precisely what unfolded in Minneapolis on Saturday morning.
See if we
Obstructing
survive
federal
here.
law enforcement and inciting violence against officers is wrong and illegal.
If we survive open on protesters, that'd be pretty good. But
This used to be a universally accepted position in the United States. Amid the hysteria, we must remember how we got here to
oh
this
no,
moment
this is gonna
today,
be Biden.
and what this Democrat opposition is about. Former President Joe Biden and the Democrats
I knew
opened
it.
America's
Damn, I should've
borders
tried
for
to dump
4
him
years,
immediately.
inviting tens
so
of
they
millions of
they're just
illegal
going
aliens
hard,
from
man.
all
That
over
was a
the
terrible
world
read I
to
had.
flood into our country. Among them, violent criminals who terrorized American communities and have inflicted devastating, permanent pain
I will
and
pick up
harm
some more no
on
tariff,
law-abiding
though.
Americans and their families. Yet we never saw outrage from Democrats or their allies in the liberal media over these horrifying
I ever
crimes
think
against
Trump
U.S.
admin
citizens.
would be
The
soft?
pain of American angel families
What's
was
wrong with me?
ignored and dismissed because it undermined the Democrat narrative. Innocent Americans like
Still no
Jocelyn
fraud.
Numgray, Laken Riley, and Rachel Morin are just a few of the many victims savagely murdered by illegal alien
But look, we're at like 5 illegal alien
criminals.
mentions. I should have
Earlier
sized
this
up
month,
more.
an illegal alien from Mexico with a long criminal history who came into our
Stupid
country
question.
under Joe Biden's administration threw a baseball-sized stone at a school bus carrying children in New Jersey
Still
and
no
fractured
talk
the
of Tom
skull
Homan.
of an 8-year-old innocent child. President Trump promised accountability to these American families by securing the border, deporting every illegal alien who has committed crimes, especially and most importantly, violent crimes. Nearly 80 million Americans voted for him to deliver on that very promise, and he is. As the duly elected president, the president is fulfilling the will of the people by arresting and removing
she
these
survives
threats
open
from our
with no
country
Tom Homan,
in cities from
I
Los
would try to
Angeles
flip
to New
some,
York and, yes,
but-
Minneapolis. Yet Democrat leaders in Minnesota with sanctuary city policies have actively defied federal immigration law and the will of the people. And as a result of that defiance, 2 Minnesotans have now tragically lost their lives on the streets of Tim Walz's state. It is President Trump's hope and wish and demand for the resistance and chaos to end today.
I think this
That's
is
why
Homan.
President Trump spoke with Governor Walz directly this morning, and he has outlined a clear and simple path to restoring law and order in Minnesota.
Let's see. Was this a
Number
terrible
1,
click?
Governor Walz, Mayor Fry,
I
and
feel like
all Democrat
she's gonna
leaders
talk
should
about
turn
sending
over
Homan
all
with
criminal
this whole
illegal
thing.
aliens currently incarcerated in their prisons and jails to federal authorities, along with any illegal aliens with active warrants or known criminal histories for immediate deportation. Number 2, state and local law enforcement must
like she
agree
has
to
to
turn
say
over
she's sending
all
Tom
illegal
Homan here.
aliens who are
Am I
arrested
crazy?
by local police. And then thirdly, local police must assist federal law enforcement in apprehending and detaining illegal aliens who are wanted for crimes, especially violent crimes. If Governor Walz and Mayor Fry implement these common sense
Wow.
cooperative measures
She not
that I will add have already been implemented in nearly every single
mention
other state
Homan?
across the country, Customs and Border Patrol will not be needed to support ICE on the ground in Minnesota. ICE and local law enforcement can peacefully work together, as they are effectively doing in so many other states and jurisdictions. Additionally, President Trump is calling on the United States Congress to immediately pass legislation ending sanctuary cities once and for all. American cities should be safe sanctuaries for law-abiding
No way
citizens
she doesn't
only,
mention the Tom
not for
Homan thing.
dangerous illegal alien criminals who broke our nation's laws and do not belong here. We hope Governor Walz will do the right
How is it
thing
still
and
38?
continue to work with President Trump to keep the American people safe following their call this morning. Americans overwhelmingly overwhelmingly want exactly what President Trump is delivering: strong borders and strict
I mean, the
immigration
press
enforcement
could, but like her not saying that in the open is very
against
bearish.
the worst illegal aliens, of which there are still hundreds of thousands to
definitely
deport from the
sell some
interior of
out
our country.
if she doesn't
The
get it
most
in
peaceful
the
way
open.
to carry out this vital public safety mission is for Republicans and Democrats to do it together, and for state and local law enforcement to work together with federal law enforcement. We want to let cops be cops. You wouldn't know this continues to be a very popular policy position from the biased media coverage over the course of the last few days.
This
But
might be it
polling
right
shows
here.
huge support for this exact thing President Trump is calling for. More than 80% of Americans favor deporting illegal aliens convicted of violent crimes. A country unable to deport criminals who enter it illegally is no country at all. The open borders agenda of Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and the Democrats was already on the ballot on November 5th, 2024, and it was resoundingly rejected. President Trump will never back down from his promise to deport violent criminal illegal aliens and make America safe again, and he welcomes all cooperation in that effort. With that, I will answer your questions.
Wow.
Jordan Conradson,
No
why don't you kick
Homan
us
in
off
the
today? Thank you for
open.
being here.
Thank you, Caroline.
Crazy.
Jordan Conrad's from Gateway Pundit. I have a few questions. First, with respect to the shooting in Minneapolis, we're seeing massive outrage from
Okay,
mainstream
I got
media
out of
on the left,
Homan.
but I'm just wondering where was
We
that
will
outrage
take it,
when
only losing a little bit there. I'm shocked she didn't
Ashley
just say it
Babbitt,
right
an Air
there.
Force veteran, was executed by Capitol Police Officer Michael Byrd, who she posed
This
no
could be
threats to the US
protester too.
Well, you raise a very important point, which I also believed I just raised as well in those opening remarks, in that there has no doubt been selective outrage by the liberal biased media in picking and choosing victims and highlighting their stories. And as I've said, President Trump does not want any Americans to lose their lives in the streets of America and in American communities across the country. He believes what happened on Saturday is a tragedy, but every life is equal to President Trump, and that's why the lives of Laken Riley and Jocelyn Nungray continue to matter to him and be an utmost priority to him to this very day. And it's unfortunate that we did not see the same type of sensationalist media coverage over the tragic deaths of those innocent American women and girls across the country as we are in the wake of this tragedy that took place on Saturday. Gabe, sure. Go ahead, Jordan.
I want to get your response to this. The Arizona Attorney General, just days before this shooting in Minneapolis, she seemingly encouraged rioters to go out, shoot, and kill ICE
Rioters,
agents.
good
And
language.
I'll quote her here. She said, "If you reasonably believe your life is in danger and you're in the house or in your car or on your property, you can defend yourself with lethal force." And she said that you can't tell if ICE agents are law enforcement or imposters, and it becomes an issue of whether you reasonably believed they were law enforcement. Do you have a response to that, and does the White House believe that she should be held accountable for
Well,
these remarks?
such dangerous rhetoric, as I pointed out, is exactly what has brought us
Dangerous
to this
rhetoric.
position today, where you have elected Democrat officials across the country who are encouraging left-wing agitators and crazy people
No
to go
fraud
out and
would have been
unlawfully
such a nice
obstruct
pickup.
lawful immigration
I was gonna
enforcement.
get that along with
Again, these
Biden.
brave men and women of ICE and Border Patrol and the federal enforcement are just trying to do their jobs to enforce our nation's immigration laws and to go after the worst of the worst in this country. I would encourage everyone in this room, and I would encourage the Arizona Attorney General to look at the video of an ICE agent in Minneapolis. He was approached by left-wing agitators who were honking their horns and were
I like the use of
screaming,
agitator instead of
slurs at him,
protester.
and he rolled down his window and
Brilliant
he said, "What are
phrasing.
you doing? I am out here trying to catch a child predator, somebody who has convicted crimes against an innocent child, and you are trying to obstruct me from doing my job." This rhetoric against ICE, comparing them to Nazi, Gestapo, Donald Trump's police force, is despicable, it is shameful, and it is precisely what has led to the escalation of tensions in Minneapolis and in other places across the country. Gabe, go ahead.
For justifying violence.
I would defer you
actually.
to the Department of Justice on that.
Thank you, Caroline.
Gabe.
Regarding Minnesota, on Saturday, the Department of Homeland Security posted that Preddy looks like he wanted to do maximum damage to massacre law enforcement.
Wait.
Stephen Miller on Saturday
You're
posted
holding-
that, or called Preddy a would-be assassin. Why did administration officials
You were
jump to
scaring me that they were
conclusions
pivoting to Greenland.
before an investigation had even been conducted?
Well, look,
There's
this
what?
has obviously been a very fluid and fast-moving situation throughout the weekend. As for President Trump, whom I speak for, he has said that he wants to let the investigation continue and let the facts lead in this case.
With regards to the deployment of Tom Homan to Minneapolis,
Oh, here it is.
should the deployment of Mr. Homan to Minneapolis be seen as a
Oh,
sign
they
that
get
the
it?
president is dissatisfied with how the
I should have picked up the
officials on the ground
75-cent shares
handled the
probably.
incident?
No,
Oh, I should've-
Mr. Homan is doing an
I should have gotten the
exceptional job, and he has
75-cent
been
shares on
working with
Homan.
Secretary
There
Noem
was
and
75 cents at 1K. Why am I such a wimp?
President
Whatever.
Trump over the course of the last year.
Got my
Secretary
money back
Noem
on
still
what I
has
lost
the utmost
already.
confidence and trust of the President of the United States, and she's continuing to oversee the
I should've
entire
just
Department
clicked
of
that.
Homeland Security
The hell?
and all of the immigration enforcement that's taking place
Why did I not
across
click
the whole
that?
entire country. Of course, Secretary Noem is also in charge of FEMA, and we are in the wake of a brutal winter storm where hundreds of thousands of Americans have been impacted by that. So, Borders Our Homan is in a unique position to drop everything and go to Minnesota to continue having these productive conversations with state and local officials, and I know that he's catching a
was such
plane
an
in just a
obvious
few
click.
hours to do just that at the
Why
request
did I not just click?
of the president. Jennifer.
On Saturday's shooting, has the president been briefed, and have you been briefed on specific details of the shooting? How many shots were fired? How many guns discharged? And I mean, did the protesters' gun go off, or
Oh,
only the
no, not
officers'
protester.
guns? Do you have any of those details?
Again, the investigation is continuing, Jennifer, and we will let the facts lead and we will let the facts play out in this investigation. I do know that HSI and FBI are conducting interviews with those that were involved and the agents who were involved in this unfortunate tragedy on Saturday.
Are they keeping the president up to date on all those details?
The president is obviously very much on the ball with respect to this investigation. I think he's made that quite
Ooh,
clear
that protester
with
dodged.
the various statements that you've seen him put out, and also
Oh, I
the
tried to get
points
some
that
more.
the president has outlined as
4K
well
Homan
to
at
Governor
88?
Walz and
Jeez.
to encourage him to
You're
cooperate
confident.
with ICE.
Wow, protester jumped all the
with
way
the
to like
administration.
93.
Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. To follow on Gabe's question, Secretary Noem said Alex Preddy committed an act of domestic terrorism. Stephen Miller labeled Preddy a domestic terrorist. Does the president agree with them?
Look, as I've said, I have not heard the president characterize Mr. Preddy in that way. However, I have heard the president say he wants to let the facts in the investigation lead itself.
Was he alarmed to
Danny.
hear his top
Thanks,
officials
Caroline.
referring to him in that way, rushing to that judgment?
Danny, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline.
Wow,
on Stephen Miller's
terrorist
comments,
dodge.
Will Stephen Miller be
Probably get some
apologising
fills. People are probably going to think it's coming.
to the family of Alex Pretty for calling him, quotes, an assassin who tried to murder federal agents, despite
Nice
the fact that, as
fills.
you say, this is still under investigation?
Look, again, this incident remains under investigation, and nobody here at the White House, including the President of the United States, wants to see Americans hurt or killed and losing their lives in American streets. And we mourn for the parents. As a mother myself, of
Yeah,
course,
I
cannot
know.
imagine,
That's
the
that's
loss
what I
of
was looking
life,
for,
especially
Carson.
losing one
Just trying to pick up the nose.
And that same empathy from
when
the president
it gets
goes
said there,
for
because sometimes they'll
the
get priced
parents,
crazy. Obviously,
of
you're going to be
angel
subject to crazy adverse
families,
selection.
and parents of victims of
Because
illegal
right when
alien
it gets
crime
said, you'll just
across
get
our
sniped. But
country as well, and that's exactly why the president continues to be wholeheartedly committed to deporting the worst of the worst criminals from our country. Why don't we go to the back, Kelly?
Caroline, does the president believe that the killing, though, was a mistake? Has he expressed that at all?
Again, the president has said, we have
Again.
to review it, and this investigation needs to continue, and he's letting the facts on the investigation lead itself.
Does he want body camera footage to be released to the public? Now,
That's not something I've heard the president commit to, so I won't do that from the podium. Sure.
Caroline, how serious is the administration taking allegations that local and state officials in Minnesota
What is
are
happening
actively
with Green?
coordinating with demonstrators through encrypted or non-encrypted communications, as well as
He said
providing government
demonstrators.
resources to impede immigration enforcement
don't say
operations?
protesters here. You
I'm
have
sorry,
to
Carrie, could
dodge
you
it the
repeat your
whole
question?
way.
How serious is the administration taking allegations that local and state Minnesota officials are communicating with demonstrators to basically impede immigration officials?
Well, we've definitely seen active organization amongst these left-wing groups, Carrie, and it is something that I know the FBI and the Department of Justice are looking into. Again, it is illegal to unlawfully obstruct lawful immigration enforcement
this
in this
moving
country.
to?
And these agitators are making it nearly impossible for ICE to do their jobs and for federal law enforcement to carry out the will of the American people to deport the worst of the worst. I would just encourage everyone to please imagine in this room, all of you come to the White House every day to report on the President of the United States and the administration. You come into this briefing room, you walk through the gates of the White House. Just imagine if there were left-wing agitators or agitators of any kind who
I
were
love
in your face, who
agitators,
were
man.
doxing you, who were harassing you,
Agitators,
who were
so-
physically threatening you, who were biting off your fingers in the case of two Border Patrol agents we saw this past weekend in Minneapolis. that would make it very difficult for you to show up and do your job here at the White House every single day. That's what these officers in Minneapolis are facing. That's why the president is calling on Governor Walz and Mayor Frey for these 3 very simple and common sense points of cooperation.
I know,
that
agitator
ICE
20 plus.
and local law enforcement can work together. Again, we are just asking for police to be police. And if you ask any law enforcement agent or official, they want to be able
Greenland,
to
yes,
work
is
with their
getting
federal
pretty
counterparts at the
crazy
state and
cheap,
local
though.
level and vice versa.
Caroline. Thanks a lot, Caroline. 2 questions. One is looking forward. The role of Mr. Homan. Is he being sent by the president to diffuse the situation that exists right now on the ground? Is he the point person essentially for the White House in terms of trying to tamp down the tensions that exist right now in Minnesota?
Well, Mr. Homan is the point person for cooperating with state and local authorities and corresponding with them,
Is the
again, to
second
achieve
question
this
gonna
level
be a
of
Greenland
cooperation to
question?
subdue the chaos on the streets of Minneapolis. And I would just point out that Mr. Homan is someone who has been lauded for many, many decades for his experience working in law enforcement. In fact, this is a Washington Post headline from 9 years ago, 2016. Meet the man the White House has honored for deporting illegal immigrants. And I would remind everyone in this room that it was former President Barack Hussein Obama who awarded a medal to Mr. Homan. So he's obviously very
Hussein
qualified.
Obama,
He has
did
the
you
full
say?
trust and faith of the president. He will continue to have these meetings in the
Homan already hit a while
hopes
ago.
that ICE and local law enforcement can cooperate and work together to have successful immigration enforcement.
let's
as
see if
we've
she gets
seen
a
in
Greenland
almost every
question.
other state across the country. Jake.
Secondly, Caroline, can you talk a little bit about tomorrow's trip by the president to Iowa, what the purpose of that trip is, what the goals
Iowa.
of that trip are?
Sure, yes.
this
Tomorrow,
could be
President Trump will be
affordability.
traveling to Des Moines, Iowa. He will be making
probably
a local
not.
visit at a local business, and then he will be giving a speech on affordability and on the
Oh
economy.
my gosh,
and
it
we're
was
very much
affordability. I
forward,
literally called
to
it.
being there, to meeting with the
Oh
great
my
people of Iowa,
god.
but also
Why didn't I
lawmakers as
click
well.
those, dude?
Jake.
Caroline, a couple quick questions. First,
Oh
does
my
the president
God.
remain fully confident in Chrissy Noem's ability to lead the DHS?
Yes.
And then just
What the
secondly,
hell is wrong with me
just
today?
on that
2
Wall Street
missed
Journal
clicks
reporting
that
we
I
saw
just knew were
yesterday,
good clicks.
the
Those
president
are
said
at
at some
15
point
cents.
That the immigration
God.
enforcement officers would leave Minneapolis. Did this Saturday
Dude.
killing of Alex Pretty
I know.
expedite that withdrawal at all?
What is
To your
wrong
first
with
question,
me?
the answer is yes. He still has confidence and trust in Secretary Noem. To the second question, I would point you back to what I said earlier. If Governor Walz and Mayor Frey implement these common sense
Why am I so
cooperative
slow
measures,
today on these
CBP
clicks?
will no longer be needed to support ICE on the ground in Minnesota. ICE and local law enforcement will peacefully work together, as they are effectively doing in so many other states and jurisdictions, to remove violent criminals from American neighborhoods across the country.
Did Walz ask the president to remove the immigration enforcement officers?
He asked the president to scale down, and the president reiterated what the
down.
president put out in his statement yesterday,
Man, I
and
can't
what I'm
believe
sharing
Tara
with all of
No
you
was really in
as
the
well.
40s. If she
I
could
would
get
just
more
add
in.
on this
Could
level
still
of
come up, knock
cooperation
on wood,
a few
but-
statistics that I think are very important. 7 of the top 10 safest cities in the United States cooperate with ICE, and we've seen historic turnaround in safety in cities that have chosen to cooperate with ICE. That are not just led by Republicans, but also look right here in Washington, D.C. We had a great level of cooperation with Mayor Bowser in the local government, and we have been able to remove thousands of illegal aliens from the District of Columbia, where you all live, so you can thank President Trump for that. The murder rate in Washington, D.C. has plummeted as a result. There were no riots, there were no protests, nobody was
there's
tragically
protests.
killed as a result of that level of cooperation between federal and local authorities.
That was
And
clearly
again,
protests.
That's all the president is asking for in Minnesota. It's totally common sense. Jared, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline.
Well, we clicked
in
57
this process,
bucks at
you continue
least.
to describe the situation in
How did I get that
Minneapolis
click,
as
though?
chaos. Was there any mistake made by Secretary Noem that led the president to send Mr. Homan there?
Wow, what a weird way
I'm
for
sorry,
him to
I
bring
don't
up
understand
protests.
your question. Did Secretary Noem make a mistake which led to?
If she made any mistake that could lead the president
Got
to
it.
send Mr. Homan to Minneapolis?
No, as I already mentioned, Mr. Homan
Well, I
has
didn't
been
hesitate
working
there to click some
alongside Secretary
bonds.
Noem and for the president over the course of the last year. And again, he's uniquely positioned to hop on a flight to Minnesota today to continue this correspondence with state and local authorities, and that's what he's going to be doing.
Yeah, it's 5K at 99.
Fran.
6K at
Caroline,
99.
is it the White House's position that Americans have the right to show up to these ICE operations and film, document, or protest the law enforcement actions?
All Americans have a First Amendment constitutional right, of course, but Americans do not have a constitutional right to impede and obstruct lawful immigration enforcement operations. That is actually a crime, and it's something that we've seen taking place in the streets of Minneapolis, which again is leading to these dangerous circumstances that these federal law enforcement officers have been forced to work within.
Back to the call with Governor Walz this morning, the president described it as respectful. He said, "We seem to be on a similar
I know she
wavelength."
dodged this whole
But
speech.
you had
This
strong
isn't randomly
criticism
even talking
for the
about
governor
DC.
and the
What
Minneapolis
a crazy
mayor,
way.
Jacob Frey, just now. So could you explain the difference in tone between what the president had said in his True Social post and I think some of the criticisms that you just levied from the podium?
Fran, I think the criticisms that I laid out, I'm painting the picture for all of you in this room, are what led to the moment that we are in today,
I'm ready for
where
the
Governor
Greenland
Walz and
question,
President
but
Trump are
the
having
book's
a
pretty liquid.
conversation, a constructive and productive conversation to
How
end
long are
the
these usually?
chaos and the lawlessness that
Maybe
is
30
taking place
minutes.
in Governor
Questions
Walz's state.
specifically?
Chris, Elena.
Thank you. I had a question. With Homan now going to Minnesota,
Still all
is
on Minnesota.
Gregory Bovino also going to remain?
Can't believe I didn't
in
get no fraud though.
Minnesota overseeing these ICE operations?
Mr. Bovino is a wonderful man, and he's a great professional. He is going to very much continue to lead Customs and Border Patrol throughout and across the country. Mr. Homan will be the main point of contact on the ground in Minneapolis.
And to follow up, given what we've heard from several Trump administration officials, people like Stephen Miller, as people point out, calling him a domestic terrorist, Bovino saying that Freddie was out to massacre law enforcement.
Is this gonna be
Why not
terrorist?
require ICE agents to wear body cameras to clear up some of the disputes that we are hearing from witnesses and video footage versus what the administration has been saying?
Well, that's a policy question that I know the policy folks in the building are having with members on Capitol Hill, and I'll leave it to them and the president to make that decision.
And I just have a final question is on, you were talking about the level of cooperation that the president talked about with Governor Walz.
We get some more.
Will the
People
administration
buy into
commit
this after
to
her saying
cooperating
terrorist?
with
No.
local officials
Wait, I'm actually getting bills.
on this investigation into Alex Freddie?
The president spoke about this with Governor Walz and said he would have a discussion about it. He did not make a commitment, and so therefore I won't make that commitment here. I would just remind all of you in the media, because I've seen a lack of reporting on this fact, there are investigations into what took place on Saturday. The Homeland Security investigations and the FBI have teamed up for an investigation, and there's also an internal CBP investigation, an internal review of what is happening on the
Damn, probably gonna get any
ground in
bills.
Minnesota. The president supports those investigations, and as I've said repeatedly, he wants to see them move forward. Phil.
FBI Director Kash Patel said in a Sunday interview, quote, "You cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest." Does the president believe the Second Amendment rights remain in effect even when protesting?
The president supports the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding American citizens. Absolutely. There has been no greater supporter or defender of the right to bear arms than President Donald J. Trump.
How far are we
so
in
while
right now?
Americans have a constitutional right to bear arms, Americans do not have a constitutional right to impede lawful immigration enforcement operations. Phil, and any gun owner knows that when you are carrying a weapon, when you are
All right, we're
bearing arms, and you
24
are
minutes
confronted by law
in.
enforcement,
Roughly
you
25.
are raising the assumption of risk and
So I guess this started
risk
like
of
right around
force being
1:20.
used against you,
So
and
this will
again, that's
probably go till
unfortunately
2
what took place on
actually.
Saturday.
But maybe
Will his
not.
mission continue to be focusing on illegal immigrants with criminal history, or will it be on illegal immigration generally?
Mr. Homan will continue to enforce our nation's immigration laws, especially
I think FBI already
deporting the
hit
worst
way
of the worst
earlier,
criminals
Kevin.
in Minnesota who have committed violent offenses. And I would just remind all of you that this important work is continuing to be carried out. In just the last few days, I'm happy to provide this packet to anyone in the room. ICE has arrested multiple violent criminals, illegal aliens within Minnesota. Many of them have convictions for assault, driving under the influence, fraud. This individual here I'm looking at was an aggravated felon with multiple convictions for larceny, fraud, and
Oh, there's fraud again on the convictions. Wow.
forgery of checks, vehicle theft, drug possession, domestic assault, inflicting
thing I
bodily
did not
harm
pick
on
up
another,
fraud knows, actually.
criminal convictions of
But that's
larceny,
also such a
identity
weird
theft,
way to,
again, charged with
to
driving
call it
under
out.
the
It's like
influence.
just
These are
looking at,
extremely dangerous people who
uh,
Governor Walz and Mayor Fry have allowed to roam
crime
on their streets, and
charges
all
on
the president
people.
is asking for is cooperation to arrest individuals like this and deport them from the United States of America.
Look, Greenland, no, is completely dependent on these questions.
I'll take a couple more. Go ahead.
Hey, so this weekend the president posted that this is a cover-up of the fraud in the state of Minnesota. He also posted Minnesota is a cover-up. These both happened after the shooting. So given that these came after the shooting, what is the this here? What is the cover-up he's alleging?
Yes, it's a good question. I spoke with the president about this at length.
Crazy
What the president
places.
is referring to is the fact that you have Governor Walz and again the mayor who have been encouraging these left-wing agitators
Is the last
to
question
come
going to
out
be
and
about
to harass
Greenland?
and to dox and to threaten ICE
We're gonna hope
and to make this
not.
conversation about and smear
We take a
lies
risk
about
there.
federal law enforcement who again are just trying to do their jobs in an attempt to distract from the widespread massive fraud that has taken place in their state. Billions and billions of dollars has been stolen from law-abiding taxpayers in Minnesota, and the administration continues to be
Darn,
very
not
focused
gonna get
on
any
getting
fills.
to the bottom of it, and especially, and the president raised
Come
a
on,
good question
ask
over the
about
weekend
Greenland,
with
please.
respect
I'll
to
get this
Congresswoman
clip.
Ilhan Omar, who now has a net worth within the millions, and one must ask themselves
will get this
why
clip. They
and
ask
how is
about
that
Greenland.
possible? Is she connected to the fraud rings that we have seen taking place within her state and her own district? It's a question the American people are raising, and the president believes it's one worth answering. Haley.
Thanks, Caroline. I want to go back to some of the comments from Stephen Miller and Secretary No. You've made clear the president wants to see the investigation play out. When answering some of the questions on the specific details, is he concerned that some of those definitive statements made by other officials risks public's perception of the credibility of those investigations now playing out?
Again, the president believes that these investigations are credible, they are continuing, they are active, and he wants to let them play out. Alex.
Caroline, thank you. Is the administration willing to separate DHS funding from other funding bills in order
Oh no, is DHS going to be a
avoid
Somalian
a
thing?
broader shutdown?
Look, at this point, the White House supports the bipartisan work that was done to advance the bipartisan appropriations package, and we want to see that passed. Policy discussions on immigration in Minnesota are happening. Look, the president is leading those discussions,
Oh,
as
shit, I
evidenced
missed
by
that
his
clip.
correspondence with
It's
Governor
500
Walz
at
this
89.
morning. But that should not be at the
Damn.
expense of government funding for the American people, which would include, as you know, Alex, FEMA funding. And we are in the midst of the storm that took place over the weekend, and many Americans are still being impacted by that. So we absolutely do not want to see that funding lapse, and we want the Senate to move forward with passing the bipartisan appropriations package that was negotiated on a bipartisan basis.
Secondly, there's another round of Russia-Ukraine talks this weekend, Sunday. If you can walk us through with the president, how he'll be involved in that, if at all. We'll be talking to President Putin, President Zelensky ahead of those meetings.
I'm not tracking any scheduled calls at this point in time. However, the president remains deeply involved, and of course he's being apprised by his advisors, namely Jared Kushner and Special Envoy Witkoff, on these talks. They had a multilateral meeting this past weekend, which didn't get a ton of coverage, but that was historic in nature, where the
Davos?
president's team has really brought two sides of this war to the table together to move the ball closer towards peace. So the president is not giving up on the peace process. He obviously just met with President Zelensky when we were in Davos, Switzerland.
There's Davos.
But I'm not tracking
Yeah,
any
should have picked up
call
some
scheduled
yeses
for
there.
this week. On
Such a
one
good
more
angle
foreign
for them to bring
policy point, I will
Davos.
point out, as you all saw, the last remaining body of the hostages, Israeli hostages in Gaza, has been returned. This is a huge foreign policy feat for the President of the United States, for
You're
the
on the
state of
phone,
Israel,
yeah.
and frankly for the whole world. The President made the impossible possible, and so it's great news for the President, for the United States, for our
She's rapping.
allies, and also for peace in the Middle East. And I understand that more than 20 new additional countries have also signed up to join the newly established Board of Peace with respect to the rebuilding of Gaza, which is another historic accomplishment for this president. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you in Iowa tomorrow.
All right. Pretty mid speech. I missed a lot of really good opportunities. I also should have clicked the Davos there. I mean, I don't think there was much, but I missed missed Davos, some other ones. I mean, we did get some decent bonds. I think all in all, probably okay. Made a little bit of money. Looks like $140, and then I have about probably maybe another $7K in bonds. So okay, we made 200 bucks, whatever. Pretty bad performance, but you know what? We had some options to make a lot more if things went our way, but I missed some big clicks. Should have definitely been a better Caroline speech. I mean, I just knew where some of the stuff was going. I just didn't, I didn't click. So that is unfortunate. Oh, I guess actually no. Okay, we made like 250, whatever. Okay. Not really that happy to be honest, but is what it is, you know? Yeah, affordable was the biggest miss. I was like I felt very good about that. Am I going to stream State of the State address? So in that case, these bonds will just never be filled. So up 250 and the rest just didn't fill. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. How many bonds do I have right now? I have 12K total and only, let's see, 12K total and only 1,000 of those are not paying out. So that means I actually will get an extra $120. Oh shit, did my stream break? Am I still live? Okay, I'm still live. So yeah, $300 I guess is like estimated total of what we made here. Wait, dude, I'm trying to hide this port, man. Dude, I have been cooking this month. Holy shit. I made over the weekend. I think I made 8K Saturday, Sunday in total, not both days, but should have been even more. But yeah, I'm at 60K on the month for just January. It's been a freaking crazy month, dude. I never thought I would ever be able to do these numbers. Not gonna lie. Like, granted, like, there's obviously so many people out there that are like significantly better than me, right? And doing way more numbers, but like, I did not think I'd be able to freaking crunch out the numbers. But it's been a good month. I don't think at all I'll be able to keep up the pace I've been at lately. Now that NFL's over, I got to figure out some new stuff, you know? Like, that's why I kind of got to get back into mentions a little more. I've kind of been... Super Bowl mentions should have 50 plus strikes. Yeah. I'm like, I was talking to some other people, but trying to plan for what I'm going to do for Super Bowl. Probably, like, I'm going to have to go really big for that announcer mention. It's going to do such insane volume. I feel like I'm at least going to have like 30K on the announcer mention. It's just, I mean, it'll be dependent on where the prices go. I just think liquidity is going to be so insane. And there's honestly not enough people that are makers on the announcer mentions, like providing liquidity to where like you can just get crazy prices, usually on the no sides for a lot of those. So I'm definitely gearing up for Super Bowl. Super Bowl night's going to be insane. It's got to be a minimum 10K night, but we'll see, obviously, whatever happens. Hopefully it's a close game. I love close games for live trading. All right, what else do we got today? I mean, there's so many earnings calls this week. Yeah, there's no earnings today though, right? But there are a ton coming up. I guess there's another Mamdani address too. A lot of people not be trying to live trade. Super Bowl mentions with all the parties going on. I know. I'm trying to like get out of going to parties as much as I can and just be like, I need to just be locked in my apartment because like the opportunity is going to be just so insane, and it's the last NFL game, obviously. There's also so many really cool like related markets, like what ads will play at halftime, all that kind of stuff. Wow, how weird that it's still showing this. Kalshi UI is kind of bugging today. Oh, I guess this is normal. You can just... Oh, I didn't realize that. You can just buy it while you're looking in the live page. You really like the odds on the Patriots? I haven't even looked. Dang. Yeah, I didn't realize it'd be 67-33. I feel like that's going to have to steam towards New England. No? I mean, Seattle's good, but that's a crazy line. Yeah, Bad Bunny first song. All those markets are going to be a lot of fun. State of the state address. Who is Josh Green? What state is he governor of? Pulls up a basketball player first. Hawaii governor. What a weird mention. Line will probably tighten with 2 weeks till the game. Did you ever try soccer? I haven't yet, but I've heard good things about soccer. Been thinking about that. I mean, I don't know anything about ball. I just would be surprised if it really stays 67-33. I mean, I know the Seahawks are incredible. Like, who I thought was going to win it all, but just seems kind of crazy to be that favored. NBA announcers, the state of the state. Guess I'll have to look at this. Probably is kind of hard to get good data on Josh Green. Wait, some of these are already bonded? Is this already happening? Or were there like clips that were released? Or are these just like that sure of a thing? Wow, these are all like super high price strikes. But yeah, it is. NBA strikes get priced so well. I think we need more strikes for games. Volcano erupted last week. Yeah, for all those announcer mentions, like once you have them enough times, they get super priced like efficiently. Same thing that happened with NFL. NFL, when they first did the announcer mentions, were priced really obviously inefficiently in the beginning because everyone was figuring it out. They were very unsolved. And then as they kept the strikes the same and like the season went on, they got priced so efficiently towards the end. Like it was starting to get kind of hard to find angles, and I would just like avoid some of them. But now that they're getting really big and they're doing crazy like liquidity or crazy volume, the strikes have gone crazy again for the announcer mentions because there's just so much flow of like new users coming in that just want to take yeses on a lot of things that they've started to get pretty mispriced again. That's been my kind of feel from looking at them. Josh Green, State of the State, Mamdani 3:30, Weather Channel Live. Interesting. Weather Channel speech. Yeah, Trump in Iowa tomorrow is going to be pretty exciting. Wow, 8 wars in the 50s? To me, this is just like a rally. Has 8 war... How is 8 war where it is? Let me look at data on Trump's last rally. When was his last speech in Iowa? Because he did one pretty recently. He did it back in July. Yeah, Powell FOMC Wednesday too. I definitely think I'm leaning towards this again. Obviously, being a yes fest with what you guys are saying. Was this the Salute to America speech? When was his last rally? Was that July? For NBA with the trade market deadline coming up next week, easy money on mentions. Oh, for just like trade, all that stuff. I use a tool that I pay for, Izzy, but there's like cheaper ones you can find. Like I think I haven't used it, but mention metrics. Have heard about that. I think that has pretty good data, and I don't think it's like expensive. Yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty big yes sweep. Probably going to, I don't know, it's going to be hard for me to take any no's, but I guess I'll have to look at some of these. Yeah, mention metrics that Audie just linked. I've seen people use that. I've personally, by the way, never used it. I have a separate tool that I use, but oh, you sniped the Davos? Nice. So you actually have conviction. I just hesitate. All right, well, I'm going to pause stream there. I'll probably be back for Mamdani later today. Looks like it's at 3:30. I'm going to look at that state of the state address. I might stream that, but that'll probably be pretty long and boring, and it'll be in the middle of Mamdani. So maybe I'll stream half of that, then I'll go to Mamdani.